Hello, and welcome back to the Strategic Sourcing Management e-Certificate program. This course will examine the key legal elements required for contract formation. Please feel free to contact your instructor if you have any questions about the course or the material. We have several objectives for this course. In it, you will learn to recognize the legal requirements for contract formation, its authority, and what steps can generally be taken to terminate a contract or obtain remedy in the event of a breach. And we must also provide you with the obligatory legal disclaimer. Please keep in mind that this is a fundamental course providing the basic information you will need in sourcing management. It is not a course in the law and does not replace the need for obtaining sound legal advice when actually forming a contract. This course contains lessons on contract definitions, contract formation requirements, contract types, termination and remedies, and other legal concepts related to contracts. At the end of each lesson, you will find a short review quiz, and at the end of the course, you will be assigned an exercise to complete the course for credit. Let's begin our examination with some of the fundamental concepts. While there are literally dozens of definitions of the term contract, what we mean here is very simple. A contract is a legally enforceable promise made between two or more parties. Legally enforceable means that the contract meets certain specific criteria to enable it to be enforced by a court of law, and the term promise broadly translates to a commitment by the parties to perform a specific action. To be legally enforceable, a contract must contain the following elements. Mutual assent or meeting of the minds. This means that each side must be clear as to the essential details, rights, or obligations of the contract. The contract must have an objective that is legal. Consideration. If the other side is to be held to the contract, you must give up something in exchange. Competent parties. For a contract to be valid, each side must have the capacity to enter into it. To be valid, written contracts are generally required to include the identity of the parties responsible for the contract, valid signatures of the parties, clearly identified subject matter of the contract, specific terms and conditions, and identification of the consideration, the exchange value. Certain types of contracts must be in writing according to the Statute of Frauds. These include goods under the Uniform Commercial Code, UCC, exceeding $500, not specifically manufactured for the user, contracts for sale or transfer of real estate, contracts to assume the debt or duty of another, and multi-year contracts. Oral contracts require much the same content as written contracts, as we outlined before, but there are a couple of other considerations to keep in mind. The principle of detrimental reliance applies when it can be shown that the reliance on an oral promise will produce substantial or unconscionable injury to the promisee or will unjustly enrich the promisor. If an oral contract is not required to be in writing, such as goods under $500, but is modified so that it falls within the statute of fraud, then the contract must be in writing to be enforceable. Thank you for joining us. We're looking forward to your participation in our next course.